Let's speak with Paul Fleming, General Secretary-elect of Equity. Afternoon to you, Paul. I mean, this is really sad, grim times. I know Equity doesn't just cover theatres, although TV and film and the like have been hugely affected by the last few months. But if you take a walk through any of those busy streets of the capital where theatres, normally the lights are flickering, the neon is up there, you see the names and everything that go. I walked past the Palladium the other day and I thought, is that the Palladium or is it an Undertaker's? Goodness me. Nothing happening, of course. And, you know, this is with desperate times to want to get this industry back, Paul. And, of course, you know, as I just said to Julian, by definition, that the worst industry in many respects to try and make the argument that we can do this safely.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, you know, there's a big question as to what taxpayers pay their taxes for, because you can't just have a support package that quite rightly acknowledges the period where the whole economy shuts down and nobody can come to theatres. What we're asking for, and what I'm really pleased to hear Julian and lots of his colleagues asking for, is for some sort of safe opening stimulus for the sector. A seat out to a seat out to help out style deal is something that we're talking about. So the government supporting theatres opening by funding or covering the losses of those seats which they can't fill in order to keep those venues safe. And actually, I think people pay their taxes to go and see art, to see culture, to be entertained, and not just to have buildings mothballed as great big white elephants. And the impact that will have on the rest of the economy, whether it be retail, whether it be in particular bars and restaurants which have struggled and now don't have the eat out to help out scheme to support them. The effects of the economy are broad-ranging, so that's what we're asking for, really. Yeah,
I always feel sorry for your profession, though, Paul, in many respects, only because, you know, it has got that thing. You talk to, you know, a couple of mates, and think, well, it's not like real work, and then you try to explain to people the amount of jobs that are involved in, for example, just running a single theatre, let alone all theatres and venues in any one town or city. I mean, it is vast. This is a massive part of our economy.
It is, and of course, you know, the statistics suggest that for every pound the government invests in art and culture, there's a return to the exchequer of between £5 and £8. Wow. It is an industry that really does give back in massive proportion to what is put in. And of course, we're not just talking about the West End of London. We're talking about subsidised theatres in the hearts of many towns, which are the things that keep those nighttime economies going. We're talking about pubs and clubs and our members who work in variety, whether they be sort of singing acts or, you know, comedians, magicians, those sorts of people. It is so wide-ranging. I mean, we're a union of 48,000 members. So, you know, I think we're the 11th or 12th biggest union in Britain now. And that just shows how critical this is for our economy. And actually, if we're talking about a post-carbon future, if we're talking about something that's good for the environment, good for economic growth, good for society as a whole, this really is the sector that the government needs to support. It is a British success story.
Yeah, big time. And I know that Andrew Lloyd Webber, who Julian says will be talking tomorrow, but he's already made lots. I mean, he's, you know, if anyone was a bigwig in theatre, they don't come much bigger than the noble Lord Lloyd Webber, of course. But he's been talking for months, hasn't he, Paul, about, you know, there are ways to do this, to get this back on track. And I think he's given international examples of where they've been able to do it elsewhere.
Yeah, and we have a very unique ecology in this country because of our mixture of subsidised and commercial theatre, both of which are essential. We have some very beautiful but unfortunately very old and decrepit buildings which they don't have in other parts of the world. You know, we have big theatre districts which rely heavily on public transport. I appreciate there's an awful lot for the government to consider here, and we're not asking for anything reckless. We are just asking to say, look, it's so much more difficult for us to open than retail or other areas of the economy. Give us the stimulus and the subsidy that we deserve. And it's really, really good that whether it be producers like Lloyd Webber or whether it be, you know, MPs from across parties, Tracy Brabin, Julian Knight, and we're all, I mean, if it was allowed in public without social distancing, we would be holding hands, singing from the same hymn sheet. We are all agreed as to what we need.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a very simple ask. And to put it into context as well, I mean, the government's put aside £1.57 billion for every area of the arts sector. I mean, including heritage and so on. I mean, put that in comparison to spending over £600 million alone just into EasyJet. I mean, you know, 1.57 billion to the whole of arts and culture, £600 million just to EasyJet. Yeah. You know, we really haven't had the level of support that other sectors of the economy have had. We're not asking for that much more, but at the minute, for our members, The self-employed support scheme ended last week. They're literally looking over the edge of a precipice for those, a very small number of our members covered by it at all. And the answer is simple. Get them back to work in a safe way, provide some additional income support, support mothballing where it's happened, and let's not lose the most underrepresented groups in our industry, particularly, black artists of colour, the sorts of people who are really driving forward the most innovative work in our sort of theatre and live performance sectors.
Good work, Paul. Lovely to have you on, sir. Thank you, Paul Fleming, General Secretary-elect of Equity.